Welcome back to the Viking Update Show. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic and TalkNorth.com. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is part of TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, and we're presented to you by Giggly THC Beverages, GIGLI.com. Promo code GigglyNorth to get 50% off your first order. And we're also presented to you by Onyx Hunt. We'll tell you more about those products, those companies here in a second. Let's start really big picture here today, John. And by the way, if you like the show, if you like the John Krawczynski Show on the Timberwolves, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. Going really big picture here. It appears to me where we're headed is Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers sometime after the draft when it won't cost the Steelers any potential compensatory picks, and when Aaron Rodgers will be satisfied that they weren't drafting somebody they would like to replace him with. He's been throwing with DK Metcalf. The Steelers are still talking to him, et cetera, et cetera. Let's presume that's going to happen. If that happens, what do you make of the entirety of the Vikings quarterback process ever since Kirk Cousins basically told him, hey, I'm going to Atlanta?
Yeah, I think that, I guess there's two things that come to mind the most in the way that they have handled this process. First of all, once Kirk Cousins said, I'm going to Atlanta, I think that the Vikings, regardless of Cousins' injury, that, a recovery and the underwhelming season that he had in Atlanta, it is very difficult for an organization to say goodbye to a very productive quarterback. And we can say what we want about Kirk Cousins and maybe about not winning the big one and some of the disappointments and even the injury and those types of things. But human nature in the NFL is to say quarterbacks are really hard to find. We have one that we've had success with. Let's not let him get away. And they did that with Kirk Cousins. They had a line in the sand that they were not going to go past, and they stuck to that. They did not panic. So first of all, I think that was a really good situation. And that would, honestly, Jim, that would have applied had Kirk Cousins gone to Atlanta and had a great season and played really well. I just think that their adherence to process over results in this situation, I think, is good business. So well done there by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, by Kevin O'Connell, making that decision that, look, that's too much. We got to move on. We've got to find another way. Now you turn to where they add Darnold. Great. Lightning in a bottle. Awesome. That all worked out well. They get JJ McCarthy, and myself, Jim, I look at that and say, fantastic, because I'm just a huge JJ McCarthy guy. I loved him at Michigan. I love his sort of long-term possibilities. When I talk to people who have been around him, the presence that he has, the way that people talk about him, I just really think that he has a bright, bright future in this league. And so I feel great about that pick. I feel great about the possibilities for him going forward. That said, the other thing on the flip side of the coin, in terms of the way that they navigated this process and the discussions they had about Aaron Rodgers, it just does tell me that they have some real reservations, or at least some wonder about if McCarthy is ready for this coming into year two off of the injury with a great roster around him, all of those things. And so again, I don't think that that's wrong that the Vikings had a little dalliance with Aaron Rodgers, that they looked at some possibilities and things like that. But it does open my mind to the possibility that McCarthy is not as ready to just take over as I sort of believed he might be at this point in the season, in his career.
Yeah. And I'll go even bigger picture. I think that they made the right decisions on Cousins. And what would have been really interesting, what we may never know, is what if Cousins had been willing to play for a reasonable salary? They probably would have been forced to keep him. and just still try to pursue another quarterback and have Cousins be the bridge, basically, essentially be a very expensive bridge quarterback. So I thought they played the Cousins thing right. I thought McCarthy was a good pick and a good draft evaluation. I thought that, the Darnold thing, I'll be honest. I thought Darnold was going to be a disaster, and their ability to identify somebody that they could help and then make it happen, I think speaks very highly of the entire organization. And then their intelligence in not saying, "Oh, Darnold had a good season, we have to be committed to him." Not buying into the fool's gold of the 14 victories without him playing well in those last 2 games. Thought they made the right decision there. I think it makes sense for them to at least have some contact with Aaron Rodgers, because even if they didn't want him at all, McCarthy could get hurt in July. He get hurt in August. He get hurt in September. And if Aaron Rodgers is sitting there as an alternative, you would want him to know that, you like him. Even if you didn't, you want him to know you like him, because you might need him. So I really give this team A+ for the entire process. Now, will I be giving them A+ at the end of this season if McCarthy isn't good enough? Of course not. But McCarthy's going to be how McCarthy plays, how he adapts to being a starter in the NFL. That's going to tell the true story. But to date, just making rational decisions and maximizing what you have at the quarterback position, I got to give him an A.
Yeah. And I do think it kind of does get to a little bit of what I touched on with the Cousins part of my little diatribe, was that this organization does seem to be adhering to process over results much more closely and with much more discipline than many, many organizations would. Even after, Jim, the 2 stinkers by Darnold at the end of the season, how many other organizations would have looked at everything that they had and said, we have a veteran quarterback that was literally in the MVP conversation for much of the season, that absolutely was hugely responsible for this out of nowhere 14-3 regular season, for this amazing run that they had, and say, we're going to bring him back, because that's the easier path to take. Is veteran quarterback has put up some big numbers. Let's just commit to him, because quarterback is finicky. We don't know. We don't know about McCarthy. We don't know what's going to happen going forward. And it just does seem like Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell and this entire infrastructure really believes in its ability to cultivate quarterbacks, but also will not kind of become prisoners of the moment with a player who they liked in Sam Darnold. It's clear that they liked Sam Darnold. I think they liked him a lot, but they didn't love him. They didn't want to marry him, especially when he had a big offer going somewhere else. They are staying committed to their vision for this, to their process of roster building. And I don't think that a lot of other organizations could stay as disciplined and committed to that with the quarterback position that is so hard to fill in the NFL.
More on the quarterbacks, Kwesi, the draft, the Tush Push, even Jerry Jones. Just remember this, gigli.com, promo code Giggly North will get you 50% off your first order. I just ordered a bunch from Giggly because I loved it so much. My wife and I have both been drinking it. It's a great school night drink because you're not going to have a hangover. You can get it in the 5 milligram THC, which is kind of just a nice little relaxing touch. You can get the 10 milligram. It's more like a party drink, but it all tastes so good. It's what I love. Blueberry lemonade's my favorite. My wife loves the raspberry ginger mule. There's the pineapple mojito, blood orange margarita. There are the teas. There are the seltzers. Some of them are very low calorie. They're all healthy. It's real fruit juice. It's all natural, low price. You can order in bulk and get good deals. You can subscribe and have them showing up at your house all the time. So just remember, gigli.com, and Giggly North is the promo code. Also want to let you know, actually ask you the question. Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that, or maybe you need to know exactly where a property line runs? That's where onX Hunt comes in, and it's not just for hunters. There are folks using onX for their jobs every day throughout the country, from farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property. This app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, onX Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download onX Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onxmaps.com/hunt to get started. Thanks also to longtime sponsor, Aquarius Home Services.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Enjoying the roller coaster spring weather? Record highs, then freezing cold, even snow. Spring sure has its twists and turns. What's next? Our hot, muggy summer. That means now is the time to schedule your AC tune-up, and for a limited time, it's 50% off. From tune-ups and repairs to new system installs, enjoy expert service and no surprise upfront pricing. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Anything more to talk about with the quarterback? I mean, it's pretty obvious they're going to get, they're going to end up with a backup quarterback, bridge quarterback type who isn't really going to make big headlines. But, you know, after what they did with Darnold, maybe we shouldn't just assume it's not going to be somebody who can play.
Yeah, look, I think on that front, Jim, one thing I will say, kind of building off of that is, I mean, how many times have we, over the course of the last several decades, had this conversation of, oh, they've signed this guy, and it's Sam Darnold, what can you expect? It's Case Keenum, what can you expect? Randall Cunningham, Jeff George, Gus Frerotte. You know, there's been a million of these guys that have come through the Vikings organization with little fanfare, with little expectations, and then when they are thrust into a position that nobody really expected them to be in, things go remarkably well for a very short period of time. So whether it's Tannehill, whether it's someone else that they bring in, Flacco, whoever it is, I will just say that I think, it's great for J.J. McCarthy in terms of his development to have a player who will come in that knows what the story is, that I am here to help this young quarterback as much as I can, but I will also be ready in case he is injured or struggles to come in and make something happen. So that's good, because I don't think the Aaron Rodgers situation would have been productive for J.J. McCarthy at all. But on the other side of it, I'm not going to discount whoever they come in. What are they going to do with this guy? I mean, really, like, Nick Mullins is one of the few guys that they've had as a backup lately, where that was like, you throw him in there and you're like, we know there's not a whole lot there. Like, he might have one or two little flashes, but this is not a guy that could win you 6 or 7 games if need be. It's remarkable, the history of this organization with that spot over the last 20 years, and how many times someone has come off the bench and just lit the thing up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you're right. They have a great history of backup quarterbacks. Tommy Kramer did wonderful. Wade Wilson did big things. And basically, of course, they've had to have good backup quarterbacks because they really haven't had a long-term franchise quarterback since Fran Tarkin.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, Dante was obviously trying to be that guy and then got hurt. But yeah, I think, other than when we thought that Dante was going to be the guy for 10, 12 years, it goes back to Fran. I mean, you had Warren Moon for a few years. It has been a transient position for this team. And so in that respect, I do hope that it would be nice to see JJ McCarthy just solidify himself, be the guy here for 9, 10 years. And what would that look like? We, like, literally, Vikings fans do not know what that is like, to have Patrick Mahomes, to have a cut below type of a player who's just there every single year for a very, very long time. It would be a wholly different experience if McCarthy does become that guy.
No doubt about it. It's going to be fascinating to see. All right, let's get to the Tush Push. Let's talk about Jerry Jones. Let's talk a little bit about the draft. It's kind of time to start turning our attention to the draft at this point. First one, here's a Talk North star, Michael Russo, for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
I want to tell you about one of my favorite businesses in Minnesota, the best men's clothing store in Minnesota, Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. You know, everything I'm wearing these days, I got from Twill. And you know what? I bought a lot of stuff there over the last 8-10 years, and it's all still in my closet because it wears so well. You're buying quality stuff. It's not going to go out of style. It's not going to get worn down. It's not going to be one of these pieces of clothing you wear for a year and then you throw it in the trash because it's not good anymore. It wears like iron. It looks great. You can get really dressy stuff. You can get golf stuff. You can get casual stuff. You can get gopher and wild stuff. Scott Dayton, the proprietor, the owner, is a big Minnesota sports fan. So if you go in the shop and he's there, he's going to want to talk sports with you. Incredibly knowledgeable staff, and they are men's clothing experts. They're not people who are going to be selling tires in the other part of the department store next Wednesday. I recommend Brax. I recommend Martin Digman shoes. I recommend any of the suits. They will tailor them to fit you perfectly. The Johnny O stuff, the Peter Millar stuff. There are so many great brands that Scott picks out. That is the stuff that I've gravitated toward lately. But everything in the store, Scott will back because he handpicked it himself. So go to twillmn.com, see what they got, then go out to Twill in the Edina Galleria and enjoy a great shopping experience. Also want to tell you about Natrium, natrium.com, Natreum.com. Go to the mothership store in St. Louis Park to check stuff out. And then once you know what you like, you can order at natrium.com. They will ship anywhere. Cool thing about going to the store is you will be stunned by how many options there are. You have balms, you have gut oils, you have quick fix products, you have gummies, you have candies, you have drinks, pretty much every imaginable flavor and every imaginable benefit. Some help you sleep, some make you feel good, some de-stress you, some help you with relaxation, some are good for your gut. It's all great stuff, and none of it's going to hurt you. All of it's going to help you. Go to natrium.com, check out what they have, but I really do recommend going there in person and talking to a sales representative who knows how to guide you to what will help you in your life. Natrium.com. All right, let's do the tush push here for a second. You know, I hated it all along, and the more I hear people try to defend it, the more I really hate it. Because you know what? Football is not rugby. It shouldn't be a bunch of guys surrounding the guy with the ball and everybody just shoving. There's no strategy. There's no skill. I want to see a football play because the great thing about football is every play is a risk reward play. If you hand the ball to a running back in the backfield on a simple up the middle handoff, guess what? Everybody's got to block well and you have to scheme it right to make it work. And then the running back's got to pick the right hole and then he's got to run with power. You know, it's something interesting has to happen there. You can also play action out of that. You might want, if you don't have the tush push as an option, you might call a deep pass to try to take advantage of a defense that's amassed at the line of scrimmage. The tush push is the dumbest play in football. I wish they would just finally outlaw it.
Yeah, I don't like it as well, Jim, just because it just doesn't seem to make sense that you should just be able to push your dude forward. That is an unnatural thing. And football is far from a natural game, but it just does not seem to fit in the terms of watching a football game and how you are able to go down the field and how you're able to pick up yards, to just have someone be able to just get right behind you and shove you forward. Now, the one thing I will say is that it is clear that the Eagles do this better than any other team. They seem to have cornered the market on it in a way that others have not yet been able to do. I think there are teams that can do it, but that don't do it to the effectiveness or to the volume that the Eagles do. So in some respects, you got to give them their props for that. But I don't understand the reasoning behind not making that illegal. It just seems like it's a very easy thing for the competition committee to say. It's like, look, you cannot just grab your guy and shove him forward like that. That seems to me to be, a step too far in terms of anything that you can try to do to accomplish getting down the field. So I wish that they would have taken it out. It does seem also like just one of those plays that is really hard to neutralize. And so you got to look at it that way as well. And so it really did kind of make me scratch my head as what is the logic for keeping this in the game? I just don't get it.
To me, it would be like in baseball. If you sent a power hitter up to the plate and everybody's like, oh my God, this is going to be great. What a great matchup. What a great situation. This guy might hit it 8 miles. Maybe he strikes out. It's going to be dramatic. And then the guy squatted down. So his strike zone, basically made himself 3'2". So the strike zone didn't exist and he could draw a walk. I mean, you could argue that that's within the rules, but who wants to see it? Who wants to see? And I've been watching the NFL since the 60s. I actually saw Johnny Unitas play Memorial Stadium in 1969. All right. And nobody ever, there used to be a specific rule against helping a runner move forward. The runner had to advance himself. And now we just say, oh, everybody can just pile in. Everybody can just turn football into rugby. Okay. I've said enough, but I think you get the picture. I don't like it. Yeah.
It's same as if you're playing basketball and a center just lifts up the guard and throws him to the hoop to dunk. You can't do that. That should be against the rules. That is unnecessary and egregious, helping of another teammate. And so, just get it out here. And I actually think, Jim, that the more prominent that it becomes, I think that eventually they're going to take it out. So why not just do it right away?
Yes, please do. And by the way, this is not any kind of sour grapes. I think the Eagles had the best team in football. They deserved to win the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl just because of the tush push.
Correct.
But it is an incredible advantage over the course of the season to know if you're 3rd and 5, and most teams would have to throw in that situation. And if you gain 3.5 to 4 yards on a run up the middle, that you're going to get the first down on your next play no matter what. What an incredible advantage.
It's a big time advantage. No question about it. And again, credit to them, because literally the Vikings could do it if they want. Now maybe they don't have the quarterback and Hurts is a big, strong dude, but the Ravens could do it. A bunch of teams could do it, and they don't do it with that effectiveness of the Eagles. That said, it doesn't make me convinced that, that it should still be a part of the game. It's just, that's unnecessary.
Okay.
Unnecessary.
We're fully in draft season now. What are your thoughts on the draft and what the Vikings should or could do?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting, closer to the day. And so, as an NBA guy, I'm not fixated on it from February, at the combine but now I'm starting to really pick up more on it and look at their options. And it is fun to think about. Nick Baumgardner at The Athletic had a mock draft today where it has the Vikings taking Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State. From what I understand, from what Alec Lewis and others have reported, I do think that there is a real interest in Zabel as another interior offensive lineman, could maybe, come in at left guard, and play right away. could eventually be, the center if Ryan Kelly doesn't pan out or over the long haul. And so someone with that kind of flexibility really does excite me for the Vikings. I wonder, I think other mock drafts have Zabel going much earlier. And so I don't know if he will get all the way down to 24, but someone like that, I think someone with some flexibility to go multiple positions in the interior of the offensive line really does make a lot of sense to me, Jim. When you look at the way that they were able to very smartly address a lot of their needs in free agency, now you're looking for more like depth. And I think that, a guy like Zabel would seem to make a lot of sense there at 24 if he's around.
My overarching philosophy about this draft is don't trade down unless they're really like 4 or 5 players you like at your pick. I think most fans are like, trade down, get the extra picks. I think they've done so well, veteran free agent signings and trades. They have so few desperate needs. I want them to take a really good player at their pick and just solve a problem, whether it's center, whether it's guard, probably guard, whether it's guard or cornerback. Take the best player available, solve the problem. Don't hope that you can draft 3 people instead of 1 at a lower spot and have them miraculously be people who solve your problem. If you end up coming out of this draft with Addison, McCarthy, Turner, and a longtime starter at a key position, I think they will have done very well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because I also think part of the evaluation here of this roster is you have to start really looking, and I believe that the Vikings view this the same way, is that this team is really, really good, top to bottom roster wise. And, so much of it depends on what you get out of McCarthy in the quarterback position. But if you take the quarterback out of it, everywhere else, given the great work that they were able to do in free agency, I think you look at this roster and you say, this is a team that can go deep into the playoffs if you get the good quarterback play. And so if that is the context within which you are operating, now it becomes time to get a little greedy and time to kind of go forward and say, look, our window may be opening now for these next 2 to 3 years. And so add as much top end talent as possible to this roster to get it to a point where you have options all over the field. And where if McCarthy does really click in, now you have a great offensive line in front of him. Now you have weapons all around him. Now you have a defense at all 3 levels that is ready to be championship caliber. And so that if McCarthy does really just come across at, ahead of his timeline and really, gets it right away, that this team is ready to win right now. And so that's got to be the mentality that you draft with now going into this.
Yeah, well said. One last note here. I started my NFL coverage career covering the Dallas Cowboys in 1989. That was Jerry Jones's first year. He was fun to cover in person back then because he was so accessible. What we've seen over the years is he really isn't accessible. He's just an attention whore. He just wants a camera in his face at all times. And we've reached a point the last few years now where he doesn't even care if being in front of a camera makes him look like a fool, because now every time I see Jerry Jones in front of a camera, he looks like a fool.
Unless it's on Landman. Have you seen that?
I have. And you know what? I will give him credit for that. He was really good. He was really good on that. But it also makes me think, he should do more acting in real life because he doesn't act. He just is his old dopey self these days. Every time he's in front of a camera, it makes me appreciate the Wolves.
100%, Jim, because it is clear, the evidence is overwhelming that Jerry is too involved in the personnel, in the decision making on roster, in all of that, from a very sort of fine-tooth comb type of involvement that it's messed up the Cowboys. It has messed them up for a very, very long time. And they just cannot get back to the position that he had them in with Jimmy Johnson, in the late 80s, early 90s, and then with Switzer for a little bit. And so the Wilfs are certainly involved in decisions, and they weigh in, I think, on the biggest ones and contracts and things. But what they understand is there is so much of this that they do not know, especially when you're trying to make draft picks in the 5th round and find depth at running back and cornerback and all of these things, that the really hard scouting stuff Jerry is very much involved in. And the Wilfs say, Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell, Ryan Gregson, like all of you guys, we trust you to do this. And it is no surprise that the Vikings have been generally more successful, more consistent. They haven't won the Super Bowl, and we know that, but I think they're more stable than the Cowboys, which is, the biggest franchise in the NFL, because Jerry cannot understand that everything that he's done is just not working, and he can't get himself to get out of the limelight and to kind of retreat to the back of the house behind the curtain, which is where the Wilfs love to live.
It always cracks me up when people talk about, it's a family business, as if it's always a good thing. Well, the Cowboys are a family business. Stephen Jones is the GM. Jerry and Steve make all the decisions, and they've positioned themselves where, they make money, but they underachieve every year because the Jones are in charge.
It's like, if you don't make money in the NFL, you are an idiot.
Yes.
Like, you are an absolute fool. And so, that is not a badge of honor to be running the Cowboys and making gobs of money. Like, that is the very least you should be doing in that spot. And so, looking at your, the books and seeing all the money coming in is not validation for you, because if the two of them were crushing it, great, keep going with it. Like, do your thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be that father and son should not do it, but when there is so much history and evidence and example after example of things not working out, there has to be a recognition that, hey, we've tried this. We wanted this to be a very cool mom and pop thing, and father and son, and we got the whole family together, and but you know what? We're doing a poor job of it. And so hey, guess what? Jerry and Steven, you can still be the owners of the team. Like, you can still be at every game. You can still be in the war room, but hire someone that knows what the heck they're doing and get out of the way, because your method, it has not worked for a very long time.
Yeah. It's a shame that they won one with Switzer, just with Jimmy's team as a hangover, because the record should be Jimmy was the only guy who could ever win with Jerry Jones as his owner.
Exactly right. I think that when we look back at the history of the Cowboys, and certainly the Jones era, the absolute worst thing that could have happened to the Cowboys was that Jerry won one with Barry Switzer, because that allowed him to believe that he had the special sauce, that it was his magic, because I just got this, this coach that I wanted, and he did whatever I wanted to do. And I gave him the talent, and then we went out and won. And instead, the reality was it was the last of a dying dynasty that, was assembled by Jimmy Johnson. And so rather than recognizing that Jimmy was the one that brought it all together, it was, hey, I won one with Barry, so I got this. I've got this all figured out. He does not have it all figured out.
He does not. All right. Good stuff, John. Thank you. Please check out the John Krawczynski Show. Also check out Mark Rosen's new show, Mark Rosen's Sports Monday, and the Sports North Talk Report, which we did at Parley Kitchen and Bar downtown Minneapolis. We appreciate you listening. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We'll talk to you soon.